Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at what sounds like a simple bumper sticker or maybe a coffee mug slogan.
Right.
Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners. But when you actually dig into our source material today, specifically analyzing 1 Timothy 1.15, this sentence isn't just some empty platitude.
No, it is a radical, history-altering declaration. And the kicker is the ending of that sentence, of whom I am chief.
Yeah, that ending changes everything.
It really is a fascinating text. We're analyzing a cornerstone of Pauline theology here. But to really get it, to understand what Paul is doing, we have to step out of the abstract and jump into the first century, specifically the city of Ephesus.
Okay, let's set that scene for a second, because our sources describe Ephesus as the light of Asia. This wasn't just a quiet little pastoral village.
Oh, definitely not. It was a massive cosmopolitan hub. You had the Temple of Artemis dominating the skyline, heavy commerce, and distinct pressures on the early church.
Just a whole lot of noise.
Exactly. And amidst all that noise, Paul warns his protege, Timothy, against myths and endless genealogies.
Which our sources compare to modern polarized internet debates, right? Speculative, divisive.
And ultimately empty, yes.
Yeah.
So to cut through that exact confusion, Paul introduces this specific phrase. He says, this is a faithful saying.
Okay, let's unpack that term because it pops up a few times. What exactly is a faithful saying?
It's essentially a liturgical formula. You have to remember, the early church was largely pre-literate. They didn't have personal Bibles they could just scroll through.
Right, no pocket Bibles back then.
Exactly. So these faithful sayings acted as cognitive anchors. They were creeds or hymns used to preserve core doctrine so it wouldn't just get washed away by all those endless myths.
So it's a mental bookmark for truth. But here's the part that gets really interesting to me. Paul the Apostle, the guy writing the letter, the church planker, he calls himself the chief of sinners.
Yes.
The Greek word there is protros, meaning first in rank, the absolute worst.
And look at the grammar the sources highlight here. Paul uses the present tense. He says, I am chief, not I was.
Which feels like a massive contradiction. I mean, he is a mature apostle at the end of his career, yet he claims to be currently the worst sinner. How does that even work?
It is a profound theological paradox. It's often described as simul justus et peccator, simultaneously justified and a sinner. Paul is fully saved, but because he understands the holiness of God so clearly, he is acutely aware of his own depravity.
He's not comparing himself to others.
Right. He is looking at his own heart under a very, very bright light.
But why would God choose the worst-case scenario to be his main ambassador? Honestly, that seems like a PR nightmare.
It is actually highly strategic. And this brings us to the Greek concept of macrothumia, which translates to immense patience or long-suffering. The argument is that Paul was saved specifically to be a prototype.
A prototype, like a demo version.
Precisely. Think about it. If the chief, the violent persecutor, who literally breathed murderous threats can be saved, then the door is open for everyone. It proves that God's patience is vast enough to cover the worst offender.
It totally removes the excuse that anyone is too far gone.
Exactly.
I love that. It's like a product stress test. If a bridge can hold a fully loaded semi-truck, it can handle your bicycle. Now, I want to shift to another phrase the sources highlight that had a huge historical ripple effect. Worthy of all acceptation.
This is a crucial term. The Greek word is apodoki. In secular Greek, it described the royal welcome given to an emperor's ambassador, or decree of amnesty. It means this news deserves a hearty assent, a glad reception.
And our notes mention this isn't just ancient trivia. There's a direct tie to a theologian named Andrew Fuller in 1785.
It is a massive historical connection. Fuller used this exact phrase, worthy of all acceptation, to dismantle the hyper-Calvinism of his day. That camp argued you shouldn't offer the gospel to just anyone.
But Fuller realized that if it is worthy of all acceptance, you are duty-bound to share it with everyone.
Yes, and that single insight directly inspired William Carey to launch the modern global missionary movement.
So a nuanced understanding of one Greek word effectively changed the demographics of the entire world. That is wild.
It really is.
But let's bring it right up to the present day. Because the sources draw a really sharp contrast between this theology and the modern concept of cancel culture. They point out some striking differences.
They do. If we connect this to the bigger picture, cancel culture often acts as a secular scapegoat mechanism. It identifies a sinner, heaps the collective shame of the community onto them, and drives them out.
And there is often no path to redemption. You are defined by your worst moment forever. But 1 Timothy 1.15 completely flips that script.
Completely. In Paul's framework, the chief of sinners isn't canceled. They are the prime candidate for transformation. Paul wasn't discarded for his past violence. He was repurposed.
So acknowledging guilt isn't the end of the line, it's the beginning of a new utility.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you listening today? It seems like this verse just entirely levels the ground.
It destroys the trap of comparison. You cannot look down on anyone if you genuinely believe you are the chief sinner, nor can you despair when looking at someone else's highlight reel. The ground at the foot of the cross is flat.
That is a really powerful place to land. It takes the pressure off to be perfect and puts the focus entirely on that immense patience.
Precisely. And it raises an important provocative question to leave you with as we wrap up this deep dive. If the chief of sinners, the absolute worst-case scenario, has already been saved and repurposed, what possible excuse do we have for believing that anyone else, including ourselves, is beyond hope?